junior lightweight action. Baudel Cardenas against Agnaldo Nunes. Cardenas, 26 years old, Mexican native, 5'6", 131, 17 wins in his career, 6 knockouts. Be going up against Agnaldo Nunes. We've seen him before. Brazilian, 31 years old, 17-1-1 with 7 knockouts. Tony Krebs is the referee, and they're scheduled for 6.
Okay, guys, I want you to obey my commands and protect yourselves at all times. Go back and wait for the bell.
In the corner of Agnaldo Nunes is trainer Oscar Suarez, a very familiar face with the Brazilian fighters, and longtime cornerman for recent world champion Popo Freitas.
Okay. Cardenas has lost 6 of his last 9. He's been knocked out 2 times, but the last time he was knocked out was almost 7 years ago. Cardenas has been in with good competition. Most of his fights have been in Mexico. Cardenas, Joe and Bill, he loses when he's in with B-level competition. The question here is Nunes that level? We're going to find out.
But Cardenas has the size advantage, and if he can just come right in there on Nunes, he'll have his way.
You know, it's interesting to be sitting here with Bill Walton, one of the greatest basketball players to live, and talk about height differential and size advantage in boxing. Because a lot of people don't think about, they think about height in your sports all the time. Oh, he's a big man. But we saw in our main event, and it didn't play that much of a factor compared to just the factor of Lucera couldn't take the punishment, that height plays such a huge role in this sport as well, even with the little guys, Bill.
But that's when you know, Joe, that you're a real fighter, a real player, when you're able to come out and beat the big guy at his game.
But the height only means something if you use it in the right places. You know, if you're 7'2" and you're outside shooting 30-foot, you know, 3-pointers, you're not going to be dominant in the world that you're supposed to be dominant. You know, same thing here in this square circle here, Bill. You know, you got a guy like Cardenas who's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, but he's got to use that height in the right place. He's got to use it on the outside where he establishes a line, even if it's an imaginary line, where he can control Nunes and not allow him in without invoking a price. In other words, you have to fight tall. What good is it if you don't use it the proper way?
It's not how big you are, it's how big you play. And we'll have to see if Cardenas can take those body punches.
Cardenas is in the red with gold trim. Nunes in the black trunks. Here in round number 1, scheduled for 6. We are here in Rincon, California.
Nunes is a southpaw. And his only loss in his career was to a former world champion. I think, even though the better record belongs to Nunes by a landslide, I believe this is going to be a good competitive match.
Cardenas comes in, swinging with that right hand, this coming over the top with the left.
But those 10 losses for Cardenas, they have to take a toll at some point.
Well, first of all, Bill, it's who he lost to. He's been in with good competition, so he wasn't losing to popcorn. So, you know, he knows he belongs. And sometimes a loss is more valuable than a win because you know what you can do.
Coming to the end of round number 1. Good action here. Teddy Atlas and Bill Walton come from 2 legendary teachers in their respective sports. John Wooden and the great Cus D'Amato, of course, Wooden with all the UCLA titles, D'Amato with all the world champions. The pyramid of success compared to the peekaboo. You know, the pyramid of success is so interesting. I know you can speak on hours about this, but something that can really be applied to the fight game. But the 2 of you, really, 2 of the great teachers in your respective games.
I learned so much from my mentor, John Wooden, who was the single most important, influential, and inspirational person in my life outside of my mom and dad. And I just talked to Coach this morning, 96 years young, just doing great, and what a sports fan he is, and he's hanging in there very tough.
Well, I know he taught you the X's and O's. You know, obviously, there was one thing that didn't have to be taught to you, and that was that God-given gene pool that you came from, because nobody can teach tall. So you got that, but I'm sure he had to teach you the fundamentals, how to be successful and not just be a tall guy, how to be effective with that. But I'm sure he also took you into those dark rooms, the mental part.
That was the most important and interesting part. The psychological, the emotional, the commitment that we're seeing from all these fighters tonight.
You know, it's so interesting, Teddy, because everything Bill just said, I think that comes up in conversation throughout all our broadcasts, too.
Well, what good would it be if Bill Walton could be 7'1" or 7 foot?
6'11", Ted.
All right, 6'11". You know, I guess you don't have to lie anymore. But you know, I think the key here is, and I don't mean this just, you know, figuratively, but staying tall. And what I mean by that is the mental part. Being able to keep yourself together, not just be a long, tall guy out there that is starting to fall apart when things start to get tough.
That psychological level of confidence that we saw from Litzau earlier tonight, but also the level of physical fitness that all of these combatants have shown us tonight that have enabled them to stand in there and absorb these brutal, punishing blows.
Round number 2 here. Cardenas in the red, Nunes in the black with the Brazilian trim. In that first round, the Brazilian Nunes had a 13-7 connect advantage. See him putting out that southpaw right jab by Nunes. Comes in with the right hook and then digs a left hand to the body.
But we're certainly seeing a lot more boxing in this match than we saw in the one immediately preceding this.
The main event was one-sided knockout win by Jason Litzau. I don't think Lucer was up to the task of absorbing those blows after what he has taken in his career. Saw a good opener tonight between Rafael Ortiz and Tyrone Harris. One-sided decision on the scorecards, but what a game effort from Rafael Ortiz. And Bill, when we talk about some of this, the mental makeup that you and Teddy were taught so well by your respective coaches / trainers, you know, Ortiz an example of hanging in there tough, of being focused and committed even though you don't have the skill set sometimes to pull things off.
You ultimately win in anything you do by outworking, outlasting, and outthinking your opponent. Litzau had the combination of all of that going for him, as well as Harris in the earlier event tonight.
You know, I always talk about fighters, Bill, having to have an identity. Know what they are, who they are when they get in that squared circle. How important was it for you to find your identity? Because you were more than just a tall guy. You were a good passer. You were a lot of other things.
You had to dictate the terms of the conflict, make them play your game. Litzau did that, Harris did that. Nunes appears to be in control early on here.
One morning you wake up and there it is, gray hair.
Agnaldo Nunes in the black trucks with the Brazilian green and gold trim. 17-1-1 in his career, a 22-5 connect advantage in that second round. Round number 3 scheduled for 6. I'm Joe Tessitore, ringside, of course, with my partner Teddy Atlas and Basketball Hall of Famer and fight fan Bill Walton. Bill, I know you go way back in terms of following the sport. You had a friendship back in the day with Ali when he was in his prime.
Muhammad Ali and Bill Russell are my boyhood athletic heroes. Not only in the ring, on the court, but in life as well. And to know the champ, to know Bill Russell as personal friends has been a dream come true for me, Joe. And the way those guys won, Ali and Russell, they won with their minds. Yes, they had very nice bodies, but they were often outclassed by their opponents. Wilt Chamberlain, Joe Frazier, George Foreman. But to see Ali able to be in complete control of everything, and then the speed, the showmanship, the execution of the fundamentals, the physical fitness, it was all right there for him so many times.
And, you know, you bring up a good point. You know, Ali broke down George Foreman, a bigger guy, a stronger guy physically in Zaire. He broke him down, and we know how he did it. He did it mentally, he did it physically. He made him believe he couldn't hurt him anymore. He made him believe he was inconsequential. He made him believe he wasn't a bigger guy. He made him believe that his power meant nothing. Now, here's the question to you. You just brought it up. How did Bill Russell do that? He didn't have gloves on.
He did it with his mind. He did it with his footwork, his positioning, his sense of anticipation, but also his commitment to the team. Unlike boxing, basketball is a complete team game. Now, you have the team in boxing with the trainer, the manager, the cut guys, and all of those ancillary figures. But once you're in that ring, you are all by yourself.
Is that what attracts you a little bit to the fight game after being in such a team sport, that, hey, you're out there on an island in this sport?
It's very much like bicycle racing, that ultimately it comes down to that one guy. It comes like ping pong or chess, all the other sports that I love so much, that ability where it's just you and there's nobody else who's responsible for the outcome than you.
But Bill, are you also touching on something that differentiates, and you started to say it, you know, a team? Are you touching on the ability of a great player to make other guys better, other guys great, other guys more important?
Well, Bill Russell and Magic Johnson, unique in the history of basketball. They played the game for others. Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Kareem, Oscar, all the other greatest of the greats, they came out and they threw 50 in your face. But Russell, Magic Johnson, and Steve Nash in today's game, these guys, they play only to make their teammates the stars of the game.
Coming to the end of round 3 here between Nunes and Cardenas.
Long road trips, hardworking sportscasters like us.
Here with Bill Walton in San Diego native, here for Friday Night Fights. I'm going to put you on the spot right here. You brought up Ali. You're a friend of his. You loved him in his prime. Ali versus Jordan. Who was the greatest?
I would say that Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time in anything. He changed the world more than any other athlete. In the world of sports, in the world of social issues, politics, economics, that guy is responsible, Muhammad Ali, for the world of sports as we have it today. All the positive aspects.
Bill, life is always about opportunity and how you take advantage of that opportunity and how you even seek it out. Who now has the opportunity to change the world in sports and be that special messiah, if that's not too
in all of sports?
In any sport at all.
LeBron James probably has the closest opportunity because he's so young and just getting started.
I think Tiger Woods does, but the problem with all these guys is, do they care to? The difference between Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, as we go through the generations of LeBron and some of these greats, and Tiger Woods, is the guys nowadays, they care about the marketing of themselves, the endorsements of themselves. They don't care about the social cause, the political landscape. I mean, I got to give credit to you. I mean, there was many times in your life where you stood up for a cause. We know what you did on that UCLA campus that didn't please the guy who affected your life the most. But they're not making those decisions nowadays, and they don't care to. And I'm not saying they have to, but who is doing it at all?
Nobody's doing it today.
Exactly.
It's a different world. And a lot of that has to do with the fear that the powers that be put in everybody's life, that if you do stand up to fight, you will be put on your backside.
Good combination from Agnaldo Nunes. He is in the black trunks with the gold and yellow trim.
Well, who's doing things right now in front of us is Nunes. He's just controlling the fight, making the fight the way he wants it to be. If it was a basketball game and he wanted it to be a half-court game, well, it's a half-court game. If he wanted it to be up and down the court, well, it's up and down the court. But right now, Nunes, quite simply, he's fighting the fight he wants to. He gets off, he gets out, he's in control.
Eddie, Teddy, I want to come back to your question about Ali versus Jordan. Jordan never had the ultimate opponent. There was nobody even close. He didn't have Frazier. He didn't have Foreman. Jordan was so much better than everybody else of that era. It was not even close. There was never a question in my mind that Michael Jordan would win every title that he ever competed for.
So you're saying his will never got tested?
Nunes scoring at the end of round number 4. 2 rounds to go on Friday Night Fights.
Total commitment, raw emotion.
ESPN Friday Night Fights, presented by the new Just for Men hair color, knocks out the gray better than ever. And in part by Olivia. Beautiful night here in Southern California. We're enjoying the conversation with Bill Walton as we head to round number 5 here between Baudel Cardenas and Agnaldo Nunes. The Just for Men punch track as it stands right now. Nunes enjoying a big advantage to the head where he's 55 out of 250. Teddy Atlas's scorecard at the end of 4 rounds. Nunes sweeping the first 4 rounds 4-0. He's in the black trunks. Bill Walton, our special guest analyst tonight. Some real interesting conversations we've had here. Who's better, Ali or Jordan? Talking about the players of this generation, the stars in sports. Who's willing to step up and confront social issues and political issues the way Ali did. And Bill, I know you want to further that conversation.
The guy who I think is the most dominant athlete in today's sporting world is Roger Federer in tennis. Now, he never says anything about anything, but when he's on that court, there is nobody close. Yes, Nadal is very good, but Federer at such a young age, so close to all of Pete Sampras's records already, and he's just literally getting started. Federer.
Floyd Mayweather Jr. here in the fight game is the pound-for-pound elite, but hasn't necessarily even won over the majority of the fans in his own sport. I cannot disagree with you on Federer, by the way. I watch Federer often, and he is as dominant as anybody is. I think it would be great for that game if Nadal just raises his game and just inches closer enough, and you're going to see a spectacular rivalry for years to come.
And he would push Federer to an ever higher level. I think that's one of the things that McEnroe, Connors, Borg, Lendl all had with each other. And that's
Frazier Ali.
Foreman right in that mix. Ken Norton.
I'll put another one out there, Teddy. I know you talk about, and Bill, you can talk about this. Hearns and Ray Leonard, and that's your second favorite fighter, right? Sugar Ray Leonard?
Well, Sugar Ray, Marvin Hagler, Thomas Hearns, these guys were all just fantastic in that golden era of those
welterweights or middleweight
guys, who would just come out, and you never knew who was going to win. You never knew how it was going to play out. That level of excitement, the tension, the anticipation was very much like going to a Jerry Garcia Grateful Dead show and saying, hey, what are they opening up with tonight?
Bill, you mentioned before that Jordan was never tested, that in a way his will was never tested. Does that mean that A, we don't know how great he really was, and B, that we can't call him the greatest?
Well, you can call him one of the greatest.
You okay?
But there's a lot of really great ones. Michael Jordan is phenomenal.
1 round to go here.
Sunday morning on ESPN. Catch up with a former big league slugger who's found his way into the real estate game for all the right reasons.
Thank God to move on.
Outside the Lines, hosted by Bob Lee, 9:30 a.m. Sunday on ESPN.
Want to see something cool? Motel6.com is the easiest place to book a great room online. See, when you start in the right spot, everything else just kind of falls into place. We'll leave the light on for you.
Where does it hurt? New Aleve liquid gels can make it better.
I've got some lower back pain. It's my knees that really hurt.
Now Liquid Speed meets Aleve Strength.
They work great. I'm not going to let my knees stop me.
Where does it hurt? Aleve can make it better, liquid fast.
Next week, Friday Night Fights will feature Delvin Rodriguez. He is trying to bounce back after that stunning knockout loss he had early on earlier this year. Taking on Keenan Collins. And note the time, a 10:30 start for Friday Night Fights next week. 6th and final round between Baudel Cardenas in the maroon and Agnaldo Nunes in the black trunks. Nunes has landed 53 more punches through the first 5 rounds.
Sadly, Cardenas has not been able to take advantage of any of the specific qualities that he has, other than the ability to show that he can take a punch.
Oh, and also right now what you see is Cardenas not using his height. He walks in and he gives up his height. And in spots when he's giving it up, he's been caught with that southpaw right hook of Nunes on the counter side.
Here with Bill Walton, who grew up not far away in La Mesa, California. We're in Rincon. Now, this area didn't have much when you were growing up, but you used to come out here and have some fun.
I've spent my life here in San Diego. I thank my parents every day, Joe, for living in San Diego. When my dad would bring us out here and we'd hike all around Mount Palomar and the Palo Reservation, the La Jolla Reservation, and Warner Hot Springs on the way to Borrego Springs. And we've been talking a lot about greatness here tonight. We haven't mentioned Joe Montana.
Well, how about we mention this guy, Bill? What about Archie Moore?
Archie Moore from San Diego.
Let's talk about Archie Moore for a moment.
An incredible champion who, like Joe Montana, kept everybody off balance. And no one could really get into what he was trying to do. And whatever they countered with, Archie, Joe, the great ones, that they had that ability to say, this is my world, and you're going to play my game.
Well, you know what they had the great ability to do, Archie Moore and Montana and all these great ones. To me, there's different elements of greatness, different elements of ability. Sometimes it's physical, it's how fast you run the 40, how well you shoot, how high you jump.
Right.
But to me, these guys didn't have those abilities.
Absolutely.
Especially Montana. He didn't have the strong arm, the strongest arm. He didn't have those the fastest guy, the biggest guy, the strong. But what he had, like Archie, the ability to stay calm and to see things.
Before they happen.
Isn't that a great ability to be able to see things in front of you that are happening so you can use whatever you have to a higher level than somebody else who might have better ability?
And he also had the coach. You had Cuss, I had Coach Wooden, Joe had Bill Walsh.
Bill Walsh was a great innovator.
We miss you, Bill Walsh.
Yes.
But what a great leader.
By the
What
way,
a great human being.
Bill Walsh, former amateur heavyweight and a winning collegiate heavyweight, and boxing many times, by far the thing that he would draw upon in using analogies and teaching lessons in football practice.
A lot of these boxers are lucky that Maurice Lucas didn't go into boxing and chose basketball instead, because that guy was tough, fierce, and knew how to fight.
By the way,
liked to fight.
The last finishing thing here, it's been great having you. Nunes showed a lot of things tonight. He showed calmness, he showed quickness, he showed the ability to go inside and go outside, and I think he just earned the right to have his hand raised.
Make it official when we come back.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Series on ESPN. Tony Stewart captured his third win of the year at the Glen. Now, with tensions high, the race to the chase heats up. The NASCAR Nextel Cup Series at Michigan, Sunday at 1 on ESPN.
From the small jobs that renew to more ambitious ideas that transform, ACE is here to help with expertise and solutions that work for you. ACE is your place with everything you need for your home, plus helpful advice. Almost like we're right there. ACE,
the helpful place.
Horsepower is here, and no leading synthetic oil delivers more power than Q horsepower, which is why it's recommended by Ferrari for every oil change. New Q horsepower. Unleash all your horses.
Total commitment, raw emotion, pure excitement. The 2007 Little League World Series, presented by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, continues on ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC.
The Verizon Wireless Broadband Access Card transforms any time into productive time. So when you're on the go, so is the network. It's 100% business and 0% office. Get a free broadband access card and connect to email, downloads, and browse the internet on America's most reliable wireless broadband network.